Today, I'm going to bake some ribs, and I'm going to do it using my cast iron griddle pan because I just want to see how it's going to work and whether or not the ribs come out as nice as what they would if they were out on the grill. Now, so get ready. We're going to put them together. We're going to have them marinated, and once they're marinated, then we're going to be ready to get them into the oven. Now, while they're in the oven, I'm also going to put in some of the little baby potatoes that you find now. They are just cute as they can be because they're just little teeny tiny potatoes. So we're going to cut them into quarters. We're going to get them seasoned up with the same spices that we're going to use for the ribs, and they're going to be placed on a cast iron pan as well and placed into the oven. Then we're going to add something green to it. So it's going to be an easy weeknight meal. So let's get it done. We are starting with a piece of rib, and I actually had a much larger piece, but I opted to put it into a half because I'm just preparing for the big guy myself. So in this plastic bag, we're going to do the seasoning. I've placed a cup there, and I've got a spoon, and I'm going to take you through what's going to go on this rib. We're going to start with some black pepper, and I'm using a teaspoon, so you'll be able to actually see how much I'm putting in. So that's about a teaspoon of pepper. And the seasonings that we're mixing aren't just for the ribs, but are also going to be on the vegetables. I have a little seasoning salt, so we're going to add some of that to the mixture as well. And you can select your particular brand. You might have Lowry's, and or you might have this one. I think is Bada's, but I couldn't find Lowry's. And I have a little pepperoncino, that's red pepper flakes, and we're going to add a little bit of that to the mixture, not for spice, but just for flavor. We're also going to put in some paprika. Now, how much paprika you opt to put in is up to you. I found when I picked up this container that I was just about out. In fact, I don't even have a half a teaspoon worth, so I'm going to use everything in this container and put it into the mixture. So that whole thing is going in, and once I can shake everything out of it, we're going to toss it and throw it away. But, we just want to make sure that we've used it all. And it's always good to use up those spices. And since we have the holidays coming, we want fresh spices anyway. Okay, let's add a little onion powder. And onion powder just adds that good oniony flavor to your meats. And I have about a teaspoon that I'm going to put in this mixture. And as well as we need some garlic powder, as let's see if I can get to that. Okay, we've got some, let's put that in. I'm going to add about, let's say somewhere between a half and a teaspoon of onion and garlic powder. So both of those are in. I'm going to give that a good stir. Now you're thinking, okay, that's going to be pretty savory, but we are going to add something special that I'm going to go and get as soon as I get this mixed up well, because we need one more thing. Aha, brown sugar. We're going to add 1 tablespoon of brown sugar into this mix. And you'll be surprised. The ribs are going to be beautiful in color, but they're also going to have great flavor. And the good thing is that you can actually opt as to whether or not you want to add barbecue sauce, or whether you just want to leave them just the way they are when they first come out of the oven. Now, I'm going to be preparing this on a cast iron griddle pan. So I've already gotten the griddle pan oiled, and I'm just shaking a little bit of this mixture onto the ribs. Now we're going to marinate these ribs for a couple of hours just to give them time for that seasoning to soak in and that brown sugar to work its way into the outer portion of this piece of meat. So I'm giving it a good rub, and this is a great general rub to use. You can use it on chicken, you can use actually even on fish, and it will come out just right, and you will love the way it turns out when it comes out of the oven. So we're going to give it 2 or 3 hours in the refrigerator. Now, these are those little baby potatoes that I like, and I'm sorry I had it turned around backwards, but they're just cute. So we're going to take these little potatoes, I'm going to get them washed off, and once I wash them off, we're going to give them a good cut. Now, we're going to cut them in half and then cut the halves in half, cut them into fourths basically, and I'm going to do all of them in this bag. And the reason for that is because, well, number one, I want to make sure I have enough for dinner, and I'm going to serve this with some broccoli. And I'm not sure if I'm going to roast the broccoli or not. We'll make that decision after we get started. You know, sometimes cooking is a process that we do as we're doing it. You know, we may think we're going to do it one way and then change our mind. So I always leave myself just a little bit of leeway. And so if I look at it and think, I want to do just a little something different, I can. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to speed this up because you know what it's like to chop and to cut potatoes. Now that we've gotten all of the potatoes cut, I'm just shaking them around and checking to make sure that I didn't throw some of the potatoes in uncut. And as luck would have it, I did find that I had done that to just a couple. So I've checked around to make sure. Now I'm going to put a little water on these and I'm going to give them a good stir. Now when you look at this, this is the first covering of water, and you can see that there's a lot of starch in these potatoes. And so what I'm going to do, and of course I found another potato that I missed, what I'm going to do is to pour this water off, and I'm going to let it sit here. You'll see I'm massaging it just a little bit because I'm still looking for those stray potatoes. And then we're going to come back and put some more water on top of it just to give it a really good rinse. So there we go. That's the first one. You'll see how cloudy it is. Let's put some more water in, some fresh water, and this is fresh, cold tap water that I'm adding in just to make sure that the potatoes are well rinsed and just taking some of that starch out. So you can see how much clearer the water is. So these potatoes are going to be ready. And you know, you want to keep your potatoes in water because otherwise they're going to turn. I'm Leona Dooley, and this is Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme, where we work hard, we love God and family, and we know without a doubt that everything else is just gravy. Now, our dinner tonight, we're going to serve here in the kitchen, and we're doing everything. That's decorating, that's cooking, and of course, that's chit-chatting right here in the kitchen, and we do things for the kitchen. Now, you know what? here at Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme, I think it's going to be the place for you because it's a family. We're about building family, and we want a strong family, and we want from there to build a strong community. Now, if you're interested in doing that one meal at a time, then this is the place for you. Hit that subscribe button and tap that little bell icon so that you'll know every time I upload. Now, we've got a lot of things coming between now and the holiday. And you know, now's the time to plan for those days before the holiday because you're manipulating work and school and you're trying to pull it all together. Some people have guests that are coming in. And so what you want are easy weeknight meals that you can prepare during that time and have them ready and on the table for everyone. So let's get to tonight's easy weeknight meal. I've taken the water off the potatoes for the second time, and I actually saved the first rinse because I like to keep potato starch water in my freezer. I use it in my bread baking. So that's the reason why you see, if you look down at the right corner of the screen, you're going to see a container full of liquid, and that is potato starch water. It is great for making bread. Now, so let's get into what we're doing. We're going to take this bowl of potatoes and we're going to add some, not all, of the seasoning that we put together earlier for the meat. And remember, I told you we had made a lot of seasoning mix and that we were going to use it across the meal. So I'm giving it a little shake because I do want each of the potatoes on all sides of it to have a good covering of seasoning. Now this seasoning is savory, but it's not extremely salty. And in fact, it just has just a hint of salt, which is good because I'm not a big salt person. So now that we've done that, we're going to get ready and we're going to add some butter to it. I'm going to take about that's not even a half stick, I'll say about a third stick of butter that I'm going to microwave, and once it's liquefied, I'm going to pour it over the potatoes because they're going to need a little oil once they're in the oven. Now what's going to happen is that we're going to give this a shake again and get them ready. And once these potatoes are ready, we're going to literally put them into the oven. I'm setting the oven on 400, and that's going to be the temperature that I'm going to cook the potatoes as well as the ribs in. And they're going to cook side by side in two separate pans, two different cast iron skillets. So the potatoes, I'm going to line the pan with parchment, and because I don't want those to stick. And you're going to see that by the end it's going to look pretty grungy, but it's going to protect the pan and it's going to make cleanup very quickly. So I'm just tearing off a piece of parchment that I'm going to put on the pan. And because we have butter on the potatoes, I don't even need to worry about spraying the parchment. So I'm spreading these potatoes, and I certainly could have put them onto a large sheet pan, but because they're going to be cooking side by side with the ribs, they're going to have plenty of time to get nice and brown. Now here's the pan that I'm preparing for the ribs, and I'm taking a little bit of bacon grease and just spreading a little bit of it across the pan. And what this is going to do is that it's going to give it a very flavorful bed, basically, for the ribs just to be able to cook in. So I'm going to take my brush, give it a good covering, and make sure that all the lower surfaces are taken care of. And that's going to be how we grease this particular pan for this, because I don't want the ribs to really stick, and they're not. They're going to stay very nicely. So the potatoes are ready and in their pan, but I haven't put them in the oven yet because everybody's going in the oven at the same time. And I'm going to take out the ribs and get them onto the pan. And it really doesn't matter which side you put down, but I'm deciding, okay, which way do I want to lay it? Which side do I want to put it on? And there's no rhyme or reason to that. It was just Leona being Leona. So I'm going to throw this bag away. I'm zipping it up. And you see how clean that was. Wow, done. And because I can zip this up very easily, it's going to keep the garbage can clean as well. So we're going to put that in and get everything in there. So 400 degrees, and I'm going to let this cook at 400, and I can't say at this point exactly. I have about 8 bones of ribs, and those 8 bones of ribs are going to need to cook until they're ready. So I'll give you the numbers later. I like to flip the ribs over after about 10 or 15 minutes, and if necessary, then I can always adjust the heat if I need to. Now you're going to see that I'm adding just a tiny bit of barbecue sauce to the sides of the ribs, and that's just because at this point they look pretty, but I know the big guy's going to want a little bit of sauce, so I'm going ahead and putting a little on there, but not a heavy layer of sauce. So this is on one side, and then I'm taking a look. You can see it's sizzling under there, and we will flip it over and get it ready. I'm looking for a fork or something to help me flip. There we go. Let's give it a good flip. Doesn't that look nice? That's where we started. So they're cooking very well, very steady. 400 is a great temperature to cook them on. They aren't dry. They're nice and moist. And as you can see, I'm just brushing a little bit on. Now, this will take probably 10 more minutes. They have been in the oven about close to about 40 minutes. So I'll give them, I'd say probably overall, it's going to probably take about another 15 minutes to 20 minutes, just depending on your oven. And the potatoes are just about ready. I've had a chance to take them out and give them a good toss as well. And I have broccoli that I'm working with, and I'm going to season with the same seasoning, and then we will finish that up as well. Now let's plate these ribs up. I've placed the ribs on the plate, as well as a mixture of the broccoli, some onions, and I threw those nice crispy potatoes into the mix. I am so glad that you decided to come into the kitchen of Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme, because you know your family, and I love having you here. You know, this week is going to be a blessed week, and that's because we're going to make it so. And we're going to have delicious meals for our family. You can hear my coffee pot going because it's early, and so I'm preparing for the family, and I'm doing it one meal at a time, and I'm starting bright and early in the morning. So I hope that you will join me on this journey as not only myself, but we together, our family, our community, that we are building our menu list and sharing with each other, and that each of us will have wonderful meals for our table that are going to be easy to prepare And you know, we may have some fancy meals every now and then, but most of those meals are going to be meals that we can put on the table and have ready at 5:30 for the entire family. So, without further ado, I wish you Godspeed and many blessings. And I'll see you soon, right here in the kitchen of Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme. Mwah.